It's now 6 o'clock. It's time to start our regular monthly meeting of the Allgood City Council. And we'd like to begin with calling the meeting to order. As we always do, we'd like to have the invocation and pledge. Mr. Morrison has been kind enough to do our invocation, and Vice Mayor Hill will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And if you would, I'd ask you to please stand. Mr. Morrison, would you please call the roll?
Honorable Mayor Fowler.
Here.
Honorable Councilman Bilbrey.
Here.
Honorable Councilman Graves.
Here.
Honorable Councilwoman Hawkins.
Here.
Honorable Vice Mayor Hill. Here.
All right, our next item would be to consider the agenda and the minutes. We do have an addition to the minutes, or I'm sorry, rather the agenda. It's ordinance number 703-23, and that would need to be added. And so I would consider approval of the agenda as presented with the addition of that ordinance. And I'll give everyone a chance to look at the minutes. However, you have had those. If there are any corrections that need to be made, please let me know.
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda and the minutes together with the addition of ordinance 703-23.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Hill. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, that will take care. Okay. Mr. Morrison?
Mayor Fowler.
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey.
Yes.
Honorable Graves.
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes.
All right, that takes care of items 1 and 2. All right, again, that's to consider approval to suspend the reading of ordinances 701-23, 702-23, Resolution 355-23, 356-23, 357-23, 358-23, with the addition of ordinance 703-23. We will be discussing each of those in detail, and so we would like to dispense with the reading of all of those at this particular time. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Mr. Bilbrey. And is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Hawkins. Mr. Morrison.
Mayor Fowler.
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey.
Yes.
Honorable Graves.
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes.
All right. Now, ordinance number 701-23. This is to consider an ordinance to change the zoning classification of approximately 1.3 acres at 299 East Main Street from CA General Commercial to R3 High Density Residential. This was passed on first reading, and it is now here for second reading, but end the council meeting, and we will move directly into public hearing regarding this proposed change of zoning ordinance. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to that item? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing portion regarding this ordinance, and I'll now move to return to the council session, and we will consider the second and final reading of ordinance 701-23. Is there any discussion regarding this ordinance?
Keith, I ask this every time we rezone something, anything filed with us, any complaints, any words of wisdom?
We've had a few call for and a few against. Some just doesn't want more apartments. Some are appreciative of the apartments and want more downtown traffic. So there's been a little bit of comment on both sides. There was some concerns about stormwater, which the building inspector and I will address those. They'll have to meet this new stormwater policies. And so we've had a little bit on both sides, probably more for than against at this point.
No formal letters or anything that the council needs to be aware of?
No, I haven't had any formal letters, no.
I will note that it did pass on first reading last month, and it was also approved by the Planning Commission. And I think there were several here the last meeting that were vocal about how this proposal would benefit the downtown area, and again, considering what they have out there, a rock quarry and, the neighbors. So that's a little bit of the history.
Again, I've heard from the business owners; they're very pro this concept. They feel it's going to bring more businesses down to the main street, and I think that meets our goals of what we're wanting to do with downtown corridor there. So I'd again make the motion to approve the rezoning as written.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Hill. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Ms. Hawkins. All right. Mr. Morrison.
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable.
All right. The next item is to consider approval on first reading of ordinance 702-23, which is adopting the 2018 edition of the International Energy Conservation Code. It's my understanding that the state has accepted this as well, and that this would just bring us into compliance with the edition that they are using, the 2018 edition of the International Energy Conservation Code. And if there's anything that Mr. Morrison would like to add to that.
This, we're currently using the 2009, which is what the state was doing. They're moving to the 2018 with an adoption by reference to several of the 2009 codes. All of those are listed in the ordinance. Of course, Bob, our building inspector, is aware of this. Bob, do you have anything to comment on this?
Any more questions or comments?
Mr. Lane, you see no reason not to do this. I mean, it's always a requirement.
This is one of the specific requirements from the state, and you have to have one that's no more than 7 years old. So I think that ours was out of date.
Out of date.
Required to do it. The only way out of it would be to try to abolish all codes and let the state enforce them, and that's a process you definitely don't want to get into.
Let's not do that.
All right, I will consider a motion.
Make the motion to approve the ordinance as written to adopt the 2018 International Energy Conservation Code.
I will second that. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. Mr. Morrison?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes.
Item number 6, consider approval of Resolution 355-23, adopting policies to comply with Public Chapter 0213 and 0300. Mr. Rader,
Legislative term, they made some changes to the Open Meetings Act through 2 public chapters 213 and 300. And really, those 2 statutes embody what the city of Allgood has done for years and years. And so you really aren't changing your practices or policies at all. Many other communities didn't do some of the things that you're doing, such as the public comment period that you guys are always so good about having at the end of your meetings. Other communities didn't do that, so the legislature said you have to. Obviously, you're already doing that. These changes are housekeeping changes because if you don't have a written policy in place with respect to some of these things, then there's no flexibility under the new statute in order to be able to do things that are emergencies. So, for instance, under the new statute, you have to publish your agenda at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. You guys have always done that. That's not a problem for the city of Allgood. But if you had an emergency come up where you say you had a vehicle breakdown or you needed an emergency repair, right, historically you've been able to add that to the agenda as of the day of the meeting, just like adding today's ordinance to the agenda the day of the meeting. You could do that. Under the new law, you can't do that unless you have a policy that says that you can make a motion to add things to the agenda because it's an urgent matter that can't wait until next month, or it's an emergency or something like that. So that's what these policies do, is they formalize the process that you've already had. In addition, it puts some general restrictions on the public comment period, the length of time. Again, that can be extended by the council by affirmative vote, but you want to go ahead and have those rules on the books to limit speakers in the event that you ever had something where people wanted to go on 6 or 8 hours, and you have to have the rules in place if you want to limit that. So these are recommended for approval, and I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have.
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution restate that. Make a motion to approve resolution 355-23, adopting these policies for public meetings.
and I will second that. And without any further discussion, I would ask Mr. Morrison to call the roll.
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes.
Resolution 356-23, which is actually just updating our identity theft policy. Ms. Chu, speak to that. if you want to.
The identity theft policy's been in place for several years. It just labels what things we consider to be sensitive information, what our policies are for protecting those things, what happens with electronic distribution, covered accounts, red flags. It identifies training, so we go through this, and then the staff is aware of what things we consider to be things that they need to protect as an identity issue. The only issue with this program was that the staff training had a person assigned to the responsibility, so I've changed that to a position. So it now says the city administrator or designee is responsible for ensuring that this training is done. So we do make sure that we complete this and that employees sign off that they're aware of this policy and have reviewed it at least annually now.
Any questions or comments?
I'll make the motion to approve Resolution 356-23, updating the identity theft policy.
Okay, the motion's been made by Vice Mayor Hill. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or comments, questions? All right, Mr. Morrison.
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes.
Item 8, consider approval of Resolution 357-23, which would be terminating the money purchase plan with Principal. And I understand that we, of course, are now enrolled with the TCRS.
That's correct.
And this must be, I'm guessing, something we have to have on the books to complete that transaction with Principal and move on.
It is. So we have filed with the IRS to be able to freeze the plan, and now the final is to once it's frozen and the IRS has approved it, so they've reviewed all of that. This final step is to terminate and begin the process of allowing employees to start moving funds to their new retirement. And they can roll them out of this and move them into the new retirement. There's probably only about 10 or 12 employees left in this plan that had money remaining. Of course, all new employees have enrolled in the new TCRS defined benefit plan. During that process of transition, some remained with the TCRS 401k. So this has been a transitional process that's taken quite some time to complete, and I'll be more than glad. We do need to, on number 5 on this resolution, authorize blank to take all actions necessary to implement and execute the foregoing resolution. So if you all want to authorize me to be able to complete this termination and file the paperwork, that will be fine. And I've got an attorney, Ben Tudor, who's helping us with this, thanks to Mr. Rader finding him for us. So he's been guiding us through this process and helping us close this plan out to ensure that we have no legal problems with it and it meets all IRS guidelines. So
I, for one, would be happy to authorize Mr. Morrison to continue with this, as he has been involved so heavily with it, if that meets with the council's approval. So I would ask, if there's not any more questions, that we make a motion to approve Resolution 357-23 so we can conclude this business with Principal and allow these employees to move on with the new retirement system. In fact, I'll be happy to make that motion and ask if there is a second.
Second.
Councilman Bilbrey. Now, no more discussion or questions? All right, Mr. Morrison?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes.
Item 9, consider approval of Resolution 358-23, which is updating our internal control policy. Again, this appears to be something that the state requires that we have, and while we do maintain an internal control policy, this is just updating the same. Is that basically?
That's correct. We just go through and periodic review and update this and update the date so that we keep it in compliance and keep it to date and current. This is one policy that's filed with the auditor every year, so they just confirm that we've got this and that we're maintaining it and that we're keeping it current.
Any questions or discussion? If not, I will entertain a motion regarding Resolution 358-23.
I make the motion to approve.
Mr. Bilbrey's made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Hawkins, is there any more discussion?
Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes.
Number 10, consider approval to award Thompson Cat under state bid contract government 2310 the backhoe purchase in the amount of $130,952.26 after July 1, 2023 for the fiscal year 23-24. And that comes to us from Public Works, Mr. Walt Bradshaw. And I think we all have in our packet the bid from Thompson Cat that you all can look at and see what it includes.
So this is a purchase under state contract, so this is the state contracted price. Instead of going with John Deere this time, Mr. Bradshaw and I talked about going with Thompson Cat just because they're a local dealer. Service and maintenance can be done locally here in Cookeville, just off of 111 in South Jefferson, so the convenience is much, much easier. This also includes a maintenance plan for 500 to 2,000 hours for the general maintenance that's required to keep these machines up. This also it has a 36-month, 3,000-hour powertrain hydraulics and technology warranty. This just allowing us to go ahead and issue the PO on July 1st to be sure that we get the price before these things go up. As you're going to see with some other items, we're trying to track things down and try to get them as inexpensively as possible before the increases start kicking in.
Well, on my end of things, you know, we've talked about locking this stuff in on different items, and then we come back to bite the bullet later when they go up on us. And so I want to know that if we do this, number one, is the price truly locked in?
It's truly locked in, and it is on the ground, available July 1st.
That was my next question, is how long is it going to take to get here?
It's supposed to be available July 1st when we issue the PO.
Okay, thank you.
Now, one
We
thing
just can't write the check for it until
Right.
July 1st.
can't officially order it. One thing I didn't put on here was we will be surplusing the 0310 John Deere, so we will sell it off. And so that money will return into this fund as well.
We all know how good our city administrator is about selling things, so we're all for that. Well, I guess I'm going to ask the third question just to make sure we had budgeted this already.
We actually
Okay.
budgeted 150,000, so this is
Oh,
almost
oh.
20,000 under
See,
budget.
he's already saving 20 grand, and so don't worry, he'll find a way. No,
And
I'm
we're
just-
shooting for another 60 when I sell the other one.
That other backhoe's getting old too, isn't it?
Yeah, we've had it. It's a 2003 model. Yeah. So we've had it for a while.
All right, based on those, I won't say promises, but I'll say assurances. I make the motion that we go ahead and award this bid to Thompson Cat for the new backhoe purchase on July 1st, 2023, in the amount of $130,952.26. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for a vote.
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes.
All right. Item number 11 is to consider approval of the agreement for the VCIF grant. When I see the sponsor, I know that has something to do with the police department. All right. Could you tell us what that is?
It's the violent crimes fund that the governor has provided. We're getting glasses here, $90,125. This is a no matching funds grant. It's to buy equipment for the police department. The contract that we're asking to be signed by the mayor provides a outline of how we have to be accountable for that we're going to maintain the purchasing and do it correctly. I believe in your package you've got what we're asking for. My boss has told me that he was some of the stuff that we're going to be replacing will be going back in surplus, so that will be some more money coming back in addition to this $90,000. This is one of several grants we've been working on for a while.
$90,000 is very impressive, and even more impressive is the no match. That's what the mayor likes to hear, no match. Does any of the council have any questions or anything they want to ask Mr. Morrison or Chief Farmer?
So the intent of the funds, once,
The intent of the fund, just a matter of fact, when I first turned it in, they sent it back, told me I asked for too much. So,
good work.
but anyway, this is what they've settled on is this number here, and we've provided justification of what we're asking for, and they've approved it.
Great. Thank you.
It's a very lengthy packet. The list of items is on page 6 near the back. Should look like this. Mhm.
Well, fortunately, we don't have a lot of violent crime, and with these new tools, we continue that, or we hope that continues. That we have very little. Looks like shield, helmets, weapons upgrades, trauma kits, perhaps a drone, those kinds of things.
We've asked for the drone due to the fact that we have a lot of citizens here that may wander off. It gives us a force multiplier to try to find them if they're in the woods. Last time we had someone, I actually had to bring people out of Rutherford County up here with drones to help us. So this will get us somebody in-house.
And I think too, we've had some incidents with children maybe who've wandered off, and it will certainly be helpful in that regard.
And it's simple as an accident scene where you can actually get an overview of what's going on.
Well, I'm happy to make the motion that we approve this grant agreement, and appreciate the chief's diligence in applying for same. Having made that motion, I'll ask if there's a second. All right. Any questions from the rest of the council? All right, Mr. Morrison?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins, Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes.
Item 12 is consider approval of the agreement for the Axon agreement for Chief, do you want to speak to what this is, please?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, 12 and 13 kind of go together. Last year, y'all approved us to for body cameras and upgrade of tasers. That was one lump sum approval. Since that time, and we have not taken possession of the tasers that were approved a couple months back. Taser 10 has come out, and it's a better product. It's a better safety product. There's more distance between the officer and the violator. There's less moving parts to it, so that we can, and to be honest with you, as being touted, there's less liability for the city by using this particular unit. So I've asked, if you will, to upgrade that approval to this Taser 10. It's about $3,000 more a year. I'll find that in the budget. But I believe this is going to be the right way for us to move forward. If we had known this was available when y'all approved it the last time, I would have asked for it then. Biggest change here is we've got about a 42 to 45 foot distance now on the use of the Taser 10 to keep a violator and an officer at a safer distance. If there's a weapon or something like that involved, it may give us an opportunity to use less lethal instead of having to go to a handgun. Our current tasers are basically single shots, and they're not, they're only good about 20 feet. This is actually going to be a safety issue more for anything else for the department. And like I said, it's also got, it looks like it's going to have less liability on the department because we have a tool here that we can use at a longer distance.
And the cost differential is only $3,000 a year.
Yes, ma'am, just roughly 3,000. We can absorb that out of the budget.
Any questions?
I do have a question. So what have we got right now? So we're upgrading from Taser 7 to 10.
Right. Our current taser, I'm not sure the number on it. Our current taser was expiring in the contract, so the new contract y'all approved, which was both taser and cameras at one time, was the new with an updated taser, which was Taser 7. Then Taser 10 came out. Taser 10 is a much better product than 7. 7 is better than what we're carrying now.
So did we sign another contract? Because I remember we just did something, and I want to make sure that we're taking what we did just recently, maybe 6-12 months ago, and then we're terminating that and starting a new one. That's what this is.
And they split it off. We have received the body cameras, the new body cameras, and that's part of our contract with them. When new upgrades come about, we get the upgrades. And of course, this upgrade, we're going to pay a little bit more for it every year. Axon's a great company, but they're an expensive company.
A year, $3,000 annually.
They did split our contract. That's part of it, and that's why there's two different line items here, 11 and 12. Our 12 and 13, they've split the contract now because we've already received the cameras.
Okay, thank you.
So the current contract is Taser 7 and cameras. The cost was $20,926.67 a year, which is the front contract. Because, like Chief said, we've already got the cameras. There's only 4 years remaining. We didn't get the tasers, so they left the cameras on the 4-year remaining contract at $12,086.21. But they put the Taser 10 on the 5-year contract since it'll be coming in new, and it's $11,829.48. So when you combine the two annual prices, the new annual price moved from $20,926 to $23,915. Now those are a little change in there, but those are. And I separated these as items 12 and 13, but if y'all want to approve them together, you can. They were together to begin with, but I wasn't sure if you wanted to see them separate.
Again, this quote is for both Taser 10 and body-worn cameras.
It is correct.
Okay. I'll make the motion to approve items number 12 and 13 for Axon agreement for Taser 10 and body-worn cameras.
Is there a second?
Second.
No further questions, comments? Mr. Morrison?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins, Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 14, consider approval to purchase between July 1, 2023 and June 30, 2024, the 2 work trucks for fiscal year 23-24 up to $38,000 each under the city purchasing requirements. This is in the rotation, is it not, Mr. Morrison?
It is. This is part of the budgeted plan to replace the Parks vehicle and a Public Works vehicle. After Chief and I spoke with Ford, we recently just picked up the Explorers that we had ordered, 18 months ago. Got the 2 vehicles. It's took forever. When I talked to them, they're telling me that they don't believe there'll be any Ford Rangers available, but regular cab trucks may be available, so I'm just getting pre-approval so that if we do find something that's on the lot that we're not stuck trying to play catch-up. 8,000, of course, once we get them, we'll ask to surplus 2 vehicles that we have on stock and get rid of those. We're just trying to stay ahead of the curve with everything changing the way it is. We will purchase off-state bid and meet all the requirements, just asking for pre-approval to do that when we do find availability of the vehicles.
And again, just to confirm, this is part of our fleet plan. We look periodically to
It is.
our fleet needs, and the monies were budgeted for the next year's fiscal budget.
Of course, we're looking still to do a final review and update of the fleet plan, but this is part of the original fleet plan to update the vehicles and to bring in 1 vehicle and push 1 down and hopefully get rid of something that's in the worst condition.
I make the motion that we go ahead and approve this purchase for the 2 work trucks under the city purchasing requirements. If there's any, I've made the motion. Is there a second? Are there any more questions or concerns? If not, I'll ask Mr. Morrison to call a roll.
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes.
Now, the next item should be item number 15, which we added. which would be ordinance 703-23. This is to amend the budget regarding increasing the water sewer fund revenue and decreasing the water sewer fund expense. So this is not the net zero that we usually see. This will actually be an increase to the city of about,
$90,000.
we like that.
This is a net positive return. The state has approved our fiscal year 23-24 budget. They reviewed the water sewer fund, so that should say water sewer expense on that bottom line, and it should be. I need to change those. Those are 52,300 accounts that need to be there. What they're asking me to do is show the increase in revenue and the decrease in expense that I anticipate happening, to show true funds and show a net return of 90,000 additional operating funds. Of course, we've got in the water sewer fund all of the capital positive returns. So they asked that I make these adjustments, but our budget is approved for next year, and this again will just show more money coming in than what's going out.
Well, I sure support anything with money coming in rather than going out. So I will make the motion that we approve these changes. Do I have a second? Any more questions or comments? All right, Mr. Morrison.
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins, Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes.
And I think that brings us to the city administrator's report.
So June is here. July is on its way. So July the 1st from 5 to 9 at the All Good Ballpark will be the Let Freedom Ring event for 2023. So we're excited about that. Mr. Phipps has been working hard to get all this put together. We got lots of new activities we think will be there this year. The Tennessee Outlaw Band will be playing that evening. We've increased the fireworks show a little bit to get a little better fireworks show. The county and Stonecom and several other, Hope Church is a sponsor, so we thank Pastor Jason and the church for all their support. It's a great family event. The ballpark will be full of people and inflatables and trackless train that I found a new provider for, so we'll have him there and the dunking booth with Councilman Bilbrey, so if anybody wants to come out, he always graciously volunteers for that. I see his wife smirking a smile, so she's ready too. And so he always has a good time, and he's very entertaining to the kids, so they love to try to dunk him. But it's just a great event. We're working on food vendors and continued activities for kids. Department of Health will be there with things to do for the kids and giveaways, and so we're always excited about this event. And this year we're doing a special giveaway with the help of Stonecom, and the mayor will have a special guest that night to do the test shot of a young child here in Putnam County, hopefully that will win that prize, and so we're excited for that opportunity too. We're also trying to get the All Good Business Association back up and running and try to get our downtown businesses growing and all of our businesses seeing improvements. So June 22nd at 5 p.m. before the Planning Commission meeting, we're inviting all of the local All Good businesses to come out and join us to try to kickstart that back off. And work to continue to see our businesses grow and do well and flourish here in All Good. Department heads, do you have anything? I would say that the chief had a TBI audit yesterday, and I think that went really well, so commend the police department for all the work on that. They were recently audited by THSO and have been actually recommended to other cities for their work to come see how we do that. We also had, so we're excited about that. We've got clean marks and all of our records were in order, so we're excited to get that comment today. So I commend all of the staff for all of their hard work. We welcome City Recorder Anna Walker with us. She got to go through a TOSHA audit today, so she got to see the the paperwork, and I helped her through all of that. And so we're excited to have her on board, and just appreciate all their staff and all the hard work they've been doing to pull all of these great things off.
Department heads, do you have anything you'd like to add? Crickets over there. Okay. I wanted to ask Mr. Judd, Fire Chief Judd, if I don't want to say I'm sure, but I anticipate that we will have the fire truck there, and the kids love to get sprayed and run in and out of the water and that kind of thing. So do you anticipate having that? That's a big draw. They love the fire truck.
We will be there with the fire engine.
Okay. Thank you. I've already had inquiries about that, so I wanted to make sure.
Well, we have just as much fun.
Well, good, good. I did want to say that I'm sure most of you have noticed, and we have had some discussion about the Welcome to All Good sign. And we are trying to work with a group to perhaps help with some fundraising, even though we do have funds budgeted for a new electronic sign to go there at our entrance there coming into town right by the car wash. However, that may be sometime in coming, so I didn't want people to be constantly wondering or asking where is the new sign. But I think we may have something to put up in until we get the digital sign. Is that am I understanding that correctly?
You're correct. So Director Phipps is working on refurbishing the sign that was there to get it refinished and get it looking nice. Director Bradshaw is going to work on putting in an automatic watering line up there so we can plant some flowers and turn on automatic water and keep those looking nice. So we're working on a couple options to try to get that back up and running till we find out what's going to happen with the digital sign and how we intend to move forward with that.
Thank you for that. And at this time, I will ask if there are any citizens who would like to speak. Approach the podium. Hello, Mr. Wood.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. And you?
As many of you may or may not know, about last year, they started the process to replace the water line, sewer line in there. Roads have been a mess, but I was very happy the other day when they came through with a paving crew, and now we have a solid street that we can drive on instead of having to dodge the crossing over to get into the road because they had to backfill with gravel and stuff. So there was a little bit of a drop there, but I wanted to say thank you for a job well done.
Thank you, and I'm sure everyone appreciates those comments and the hard work that the city has been involved in, not only in Brookside, but the other subdivision, which always, Old Walton Circle, I think. Yes, sir.
A new resident here in Allgood.
Welcome.
And I tell you, I love the community. There is one item that I was wondering about, those tennis courts that are out there. Boy. Hello. The tennis courts are in need of repair. But mostly what I would like to address is the lighting. There's a lighting issue. I know that summer's coming and it's hot, and it would be nice to be able to play tennis under the lights. The infrastructure, I believe, is there, but there doesn't, money stretched. If you got Roy working on all of these other things like the digital sign and everything, I don't know where he's going to come up with the money to maybe repair the lights. But the lights haven't been working for years, and Roy, took over those courts in the shape that they're in. So I don't know how many years the lights haven't worked, but they haven't worked for the 2 years I've been here. You know, it's important to maintain the facilities we have as well as building new facilities. And as you guys know, that all good, we've got some nice facilities. But it is important that we keep the facilities that we have going. I'm wondering if it could be that the lighting could be something that would be maybe a separate budget item that could be separated from any larger projects. That way it might get maybe addressed sooner rather than later. And it might not be as much money as the large projects. I don't know how we go about that, but it was nice to show up today and see how nice the meeting went. And my other item, if I can go to a second item, and the dental office. And I was wondering what's happening with that thing, if we could maybe bulldoze it or put the fire brigade and light it up and practice putting it out. Anyway, those are my issues.
So the house, if we would love for you to doze it down, but we can't do that. Well, we are trying to work on it. It's been tied up in probate court, so we are trying to work on that. We've had our city attorney working on it, so we're trying to address that issue. The tennis courts, we've currently contracted with an architect who is redesigning the tennis courts and preparing a rehab budget, including updating and fixing the lighting. We did put $50,000 into next year's budget starting July 1st to do the rehab in some form or fashion, depending on what comes back from this. One of the things the council was looking at was adding a pickleball court, rehabbing what was there, and also adding a restroom facility with a little picnic pavilion to sit in with a water bottle fill station. So all of those items are part of that plan. We're waiting for that plan to come in to see what the costs are and then figure out how to apply the money that we've budgeted and let the council decide, you know, do we want to tackle more or do we want to tackle kind of what we've got? How do we want to go about that? So that plan should be in hopefully soon. Mr. Phipps actually met with the architect on a Zoom call a couple weeks ago to look at what the initial proposal was and fine-tune it just a little bit. We presented that to the council, made some adjustments we felt like made sense, and now they're going back and finalizing it and starting to put together a budgeted plan. If you do just the rehab on the surface, this is what it'll cost. Lights will cost this. If you add this and put those components and actually put a value to the design.
So how far out do you think?
I'd say we're within hopefully a month of making a decision of how we want to move forward and what do we do. If we can't do the full project, do we go ahead and rehab the surface and fix the lights? The lights are going to need an extensive electrical update. The panel's shot. We're going to have to run all new electric. And so before we do that, we wanted to see if we were going to upgrade them or if we just want to try to get them back on. So we're waiting for that plan to see how the council wants to move forward.
You think if those votes came in and council says, yeah, move forward on it, and it's in next year's budget.
It is. It'll be effective July 1st.
But then it's find a contractor.
It would be. If the council decided they want to move forward and like some of it, we'd have to put it out to bid and get a contractor and then get it going. So we'll move as quickly as we can.
Is that time consuming for that kind of a project?
About 30 days for the bidding process and get it in here and get the council to approve it. And then as soon as the contractor could work it into schedule, it would depend on the awarded contractor then of what they could do.
Well, thank you for
You're welcome.
Yes, good evening. I'm Tom Odegaard, and I've lived here for like 5 months. And I live over on Maxwell Street. And when it rains really hard, we have a big flooding problem over there. And I was just wondering what, and I know in that last rain where we had 6 inches in 2 hours, I mean, there was flooding everywhere. But I was just wondering what is the process for taking care of the ditches or getting something so the water goes somewhere rather than in everybody's front yard over there, or at least the townhouses on the west side of the complex there. We really got flooded out on the last big rain. So I was just wondering what is the plan for better water flow in the city and drainage and kind of big storms?
We've looked at ditches over there. You and I have met, Mr. Odegaard.
Yeah.
I'm Keith.
Somebody came by a couple of days ago.
Mr. Bradshaw.
Okay. My wife said somebody came by, so I know they were. Oh, okay. I know somebody was. But I don't know what any plan is.
We'd have to have the engineer look at some. There's some ditch work we can do. I think Mr. Bradshaw and I have looked at a couple things that might help. But for any major things, it would be up to the engineer. Of course, you all have that detention pond in the back that you and I have looked at together.
Yeah, the back is
And,
okay.
yeah,
We got
and
that
so,
flowing.
The
but
front,
I'm
we'll
talking about
look and see if we can identify where the problem is and try to help you out.
Yeah. No, I know, because I know the water's got to go somewhere. And I know it's a big problem. I see all the giant ditches everywhere.
Right.
Okay, well, thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
Yes, if we knew the answer to all the flooding issues, that'd be first on the agenda every time. Is there anyone else? I would like to add before we adjourn. I have affectionately come up with a little slogan that it's all good and all good. And we say that with a smile because we know that sometimes it can't be all good, but at least we strive for it to be that way. And that's how I usually close my interviews or anything that I'm doing. But as we had a special Touch a Truck Day in cooperation with the library, and I have never seen so many children over there jumping in, on equipment and turning the lights on and off and seeing the buckets go up and down. And so many kids today have no idea about those kinds of things. We had police vehicles there. We had to take the keys out of everything because they were just, they were all over it. So I thank everybody who participated in that. But back to the It's All Good story. When I left that event, I'm driving down Main Street back to my office, and I just literally stopped in my tracks because I saw Potter's Hardware Store, and they had on the marquee, "It's all good and all good." So I flipped in there and I went in and I said, all right, someone's been listening to what I've been saying, and I just want to thank them for that. And so I made a picture and I've posted it, and Mr. Morrison, I think, maybe posted it, helped me with it. And so I think you can see that we all try here to make it a good, strong, safe, thriving community. And we like to think that it's all good here. So with that, without any more comments or questions, I will make a motion that we adjourn. It is now 7 o'clock. And do I have a second for that? Mr. Bilbrey? And assuming that we all vote yes, I don't think Mr. Morrison needs to call the roll for that. I'll just say, is there anyone who doesn't want to adjourn? That's quicker. Thank you all very much, and our next meeting will be July 11th, but don't forget that we have our event July the 1st at the ballpark. Let Freedom Ring before that meeting. So thank you, everybody.